Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Clockedin with me, your host, Jordan Edwards. I'm thrilled to have you tune in as we dive into the dynamic world of productivity, success, and stories of incredible individuals who've mastered the art of getting things done. Whether you're commuting, hitting the gym, or just relaxing at home, this podcast is the go-to source for inspiration and actionable tips to level up your productivity game. I'm on a mission to unravel the secrets of those who seem to effortlessly manage their time and achieve their goals. So if you're ready to clock in and unlock your full potential, you're in the right place. We've got a lineup of amazing guests, industry experts, and thought leaders who will share their insights and strategies to help us crush your to-do list and make the most out of every moment. Get ready to get inspired, motivated, and equipped with the tools you need to supercharge your productivity. This is Clocked In with Jordan Edwards. Let's dive in. Hey, what's going on, guys? I got a special guest here today. We have Darren Prince. He's the CEO of Prince Marketing Group. He's coming up on 15 years sober, and he's the author of Aiming High. He's truly a man living his life's purpose. Darren, how are you doing today?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you on the Clocked In podcast. So, Darren, where did your journey get started? Where did it begin for you?
New Jersey. I was born in Hillside, moved to Livingston, New Jersey with my family when I was probably 6. And was a Jersey boy until about 46 years old. Then I got smart and I moved to California.
Really, really? Yeah, I grew up in Jersey as well, Ridgewood, New Jersey.
Okay.
And what was that progression like for you? Because I know you had success early on in life, and what was that like?
No, I loved it. I mean, I always loved having the 4 seasons, there and experiencing a little bit of each for 3 months, and I always had a bunch of friends and just good people around me, and just a great family. I think it was just a great community. Livingston, New Jersey was incredible. I wouldn't have done it any other way. I still have so many lifelong friendships there. I'm lucky to say I got a lot more than 5 on one hand that I can count as real friends, which they say as you get older that's usually the number if you can count them all on one hand.
That's incredible. And that's one of the things I found most impressive about you, because I saw we crossed paths at RiseCon, Vic Tip event in Tampa, Tipness event a couple weeks back. And I was interested, like for you seem to have developed great relationships with people. And that's one of the 5 pillars of Edwards Consulting. How do you go about that? How do you think about relationships?
It's my superpower. I give a lot of that credit to my dad. He was always so adamant in any business that I was in, from the baseball cards to the sports memorabilia to eventually Prince Marketing Group representing athletes and celebrities, getting to know them as people more than anything. Birthdays, anniversaries, stuff about their family, where they're from, their likes, their dislikes, their favorite food. And, if a celebrity was in town, take them to dinner, like just all of that. I think even though for a large part of my early career, I was obviously on opiates doing it. I think once I worked on that spiritual side and that mental healing and work on those character defects, it just comes so natural to me now. I don't know any other way to speak to a celebrity client or a corporate client outside of, every conversation is about life. A very small part of it is about business. And I think that gets so overlooked in today's world. Anybody I've ever worked with will tell you the same thing. It's they're friends, they're family. I mean, you have to do business. That's what I discussed it on his podcast. You got to do business with people you like. You can't just look at it as a money grab or a money play, because it's just not real. It's not authentic. I don't think opportunities manifest when you have to force something like that. And then, there's tension. It's just doesn't flow.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the beginning of Prince Marketing Group, because I know a lot of people they might be in a role that they don't love and they're looking to be an entrepreneur. And in that beginning, entrepreneurship can be very stressful. And there's that, hey, we got to get the deals in. So coupling that with, hey, we got to build a relationship because we're all humans here.
Yeah.
it's a tough balance. So
Well, especially
how did you
too,
do that?
a lot of my relationship building took quite a bit of an investment, investing into myself, investing into the company. You're flying clients here, setting up hotel suites, car services, dinners. You're not going to ask them to pay. You're basically getting access to some of the most elite icons in world history. And that access was invaluable to cultivate real relationships back then when I did them.
Absolutely. And some of these people are like Magic Johnson,
Chevy Chase, Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair, Jerry West, been a client the past 6-7 years, Charlie Sheen, Denise Richards, Carmen Electra, Tom Brady we started working with back in February, booked him for Grant Cardone's 10X conference. But even then, it was pretty amazing that, he was, just in awe of my clients and asked how Magic was doing. And Rick and him went way back and talking to him like I'm talking to you because I've been around it. I mean, when you start with Ali and Frazier and Knievel, everybody else is just super easy. You got Ali, most recognized human on earth, and, he was like my boy, my guy, and Smoking Joe Frazier was my second dad. And, just watching the elite of the elite become immortal when they're in a room with, those type of guys. I think it just allowed me to become more comfortable because presidents and world leaders and the biggest stars in the world just wanted to get near them. And I was always the guy you had to get through to get the access to them to say hello, take a picture, give them a hug.
Yeah, the gatekeeper. And that is so true because you realize that everyone's a person. And once you're comfortable with someone, you're going to be comfortable with everyone else. And then everyone's status kind of raises together.
Absolutely.
How do you think about the 5 people we spend the most time with is the level of that we're going to be? You know what I'm saying? You've heard that before?
Yeah, I've heard it. No, I completely agree with that. I think it's essential. I think you really have to, check in on yourself every 3 to 6 months, and just realize that the people that you're around, are they taking that energy or are they bringing you down or are they giving you good energy and elevating you up? And now at 53, I'm super mindful of that. It doesn't matter if it's a business client, celebrity, a personal relationship. I've walked away from many, relationships because it just get to a point. I feel like, I work too hard on myself, to try to help others, get in sync and in alignment to where I'm at.
Yeah. I find that a lot with Edwards Consulting. We work with different clients, and they're people that are trying to grow their businesses, but also their lives, right? They're trying to get to a higher level. And a lot of the time they'll end up meeting with clients and they'll just cater in the regard of we're going to go out tonight. We got to go out to have a good time. And how did you juggle that with the addictive personality? Because it can be very challenging.
I'm okay with that. I mean, I've learned in recovery, there's nothing good that happens in life if you're out after 10 o'clock at night.
Okay.
I don't care who you are. You've got consulting groups. Tell me how many people after, 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, I'll tell you that they closed the most monstrous business deal they've ever closed in their life. It just doesn't happen. So now when I do dinners, and I'm usually back home by 9:30, 10 o'clock at the latest. If I have to go to events, networking with clients, or if I'm invited to some exclusive events, I go, I make my rounds, I see who I need to see, make some intros, and I'm back home or back in the hotel if it's somewhere I'm traveling. I just know my comfort zone, and like I said, it's rare that you're going to find a mega successful person out after those hours, and unless it happens to be like the Grammys or parties or NBA All-Star Game events. You could have a handful at that point because those events start a lot later. But 9 out of 10 times, I do what I got to do and I get out of there.
I love that. I love that because what I've realized is when we have a rule, it makes everything so much easier. So when we have rules in life for ourselves, and it's not a good or bad thing, like the rules can bend, but this is mostly the rule. How many people do you know that are going out that are like, my rule is I have to be home by 10. Not many. They're
No,
like, what's next?
no.
What's next? So when you have that, it provides such a framework for you to be like, hey man, it's 8:30. I got an hour and a half left. I should probably talk to more people or do this or do that. I love that. I think that's
I'm
really
very
intelligent.
structured, for the most part. Even when I'm traveling, for the most part, if I stay in my routine, I just have to be. I mean, I don't think you can't enter the world of elite entrepreneurship being unstructured and just being unbalanced. Anything in life, I think you have to have a fairly consistent routine.
And what is that routine for you that's allowed you to keep this high level of success operating on a high level? Like I talked to you in Tampa last week, you're in New York, now you're in California, like you're traveling.
Yeah.
How do you manage that?
I mean, usually I'm up about 6 a.m, 6:15, because I've got my office back in New Jersey, so I just can't shut my brain off. Even though I told Jay Shetty, we laughed at, I'm like, I'm getting better putting the phone in the bathroom when I go to bed at night, but we do a lot of international business too. So I'm sometimes up at 2, 3 in the morning checking emails to put the phone, away. But I think, I'll get up and it's usually, walking my dog and eating breakfast, working out either here at my complex, or if I'm on the road at a hotel, I do the same thing. And then I'm usually ready to go by about like 7:15 in the morning, like full steam ahead. And it's funny because I can't, I've got my girls here in the office and some other people in Cali, and I can't call anybody at those hours, but I can communicate with everybody back east because they're 3 hours ahead. So it works out perfect.
So it allows you to double dip. You're like, we got the fresh people coming
and
in.
then when they're done with me and getting their marching orders or going over projects that we have, then, the girls will come in and I'll go over whatever else is, lingering or needed. And then usually about 10 o'clock, it's, fine to just, spread it around because everybody's up and running at that point.
Absolutely.
But I'll always, as far as like my 12-step meetings, it's either a 6 o'clock Zoom meeting each day, or I'll hit one at 12 o'clock here to kind of get my break and my spirituality. I tell people it's not, my meetings aren't about, the drinking and drugging and using partying where I got that part down packed. That's the first step I got to do perfectly every single day. It's the mindset. It allows me to understand people better and how to deal with people and how to deal with, certain character defects that I still may have, or thought processes, or how to let go of resentment and anger and, stay present as often as possible and be accountable for myself too. The 10th step is about to continue to take our personality into our wrong, promptly admitted. I'm still not a perfect human being, but I'm a lot better than I've ever been.
Well, first of all, congratulations on that. I know your the sober birthday's coming up, and you brought up some amazing things in regard to, we talked about it a little bit, but with Edwards Consulting, it's mental health, physical health, community service, philanthropy, spirituality, and relationships. And I love the fact that you use the 12-step program as a spiritual guidance and a mental health guidance, and that you have those meetings each and every day regularly to keep you fresh. Because it's not, hey, one day we're good. This is done, right? Is this done forever? No,
I go to bed and I got to wake up and do it all over again. For people that are listening, look up the 12 steps, because the only step that mentions anything about alcohol or substances is the first one. And everybody has an addiction. Everybody's got something, even if it's a cell phone, for example, that they realize is creating unmanageability and powerlessness in their life. And if you work the other 11 steps, that's how you heal and become the better version of yourself.
100%. And what you mentioned earlier about presence, how have you been thinking about presence? Because this is something that got brought up to me recently, where it was one of these coaches I have, and he talked about the importance of presence. He goes, right now, we are in an age where there are so many people jumping from activity to activity, talking, emailing during meetings, sitting on the couch, playing with TikTok, watching TV. No one's with each other anymore. No one's there. No one feels that connection. So how do you think about that? Because he was basically saying that at that moment, presence is when fear goes away. You don't have this fear of failure. You don't have this fear of rejection because you are just present in the moment. And it was a really interesting.
I think my presence is more anxiety driven. what I
Oh,
might be
really?
missing out on, or I had to kind of slow my brain down. It's funny, I've got a handful of clients like Jerry West and Magic and Hulk. I noticed the phone's always away when I'm with them. And I had to start being, I think also it's kind of a mutual respect. Like here I am with, these kings and these icons and these family members that have meant so much to me. Like, what am I doing? Nothing is that important during that
Yeah.
hour or two that I can't put my phone in my pocket. I mean, yeah, occasionally there's pressing times for things that might be coming up and I might have to rush a phone call or whatnot. But I think we're just all better when we have the ability to do so and we're able to give the respect. And it doesn't need to be a Magic Johnson or a Jerry West or a Hulk Hogan, just whether it's a friend, a family member, spending time with your child, a business associate, like you're there for a reason. And, again, I'm not perfect. I've gotten so much better at that where I'm able to give people me in that moment.
Yeah. And I realize it's a muscle. And one of the major reasons I love these podcasts is because I can be super present with people because I'm recording off my phone. So it's like nothing can happen. I have to be present with you.
Yeah, exactly.
But I love that. I love that. I think that's super important. And so when you started your career, what do you think were some of the values or habits that kind of got you to build trust with these people and build a deep relationship? Obviously, it's speaking to them as humans, but what do you think it allowed you to
I think a lot of it, my dad passed in 2017 and bringing them around my family and my friends, my loved one, I think meant more than anything. I mean, when my dad passed, every day he was in the hospital for those 32 days. I was speaking of Magic, Hulk. I mean, I can't even tell you the love and the bond that we all have. And, call my mom after he passed away, both of them and other clients. And, I think that just showed a very different side of who I was and how I was raised and what was important to me. That family, friendship, and love and that bond went way beyond anything in the world of business. But then they also saw my obsessive, psychotic work ethic, which I'll never have anybody work with me that'll understand that. I don't expect it to. That's why I'm called the CEO of Prince Marketing Group. My brain just does not stop. My creative juices, I've developed that at a very young age. And, it's just something still to this day, man, at 53, it has not slowed down. If anything, I'm hungry now more than I've ever been. I'm constantly always looking for, new brands, new corporations, new clients that might be a good fit. And, just starting over with each and every one of them. It's no different than, hey, you might stop working out for a few months, but the minute you pick up those weights again, the muscle remembers. Well, the mind and the brain remember too, and I've been doing it for so long. It's like I said, it's my superpower. I say, humbly, but I know I'm one of the best in the industry at it. There's a reason I've kept clients for so long because I care. I'll walk away from deals. I'll suffer myself financially, or if it has to hurt the business in the moment, because I know it's not worth fighting for an opportunity that one of our big celebrities passed on. That could have been a game changer for us for that quarter, that month, that year, that relationship that we might lose now because this corporation is disappointed. It's not about me and it's not about Prince Marketing. It's about them and understanding that sometimes they want to stay more true to their brand. Or look, so many of them have amassed enormous wealth. They're more relevant now than they've ever been before. I could be looking at a $3-4 million opportunity that gets passed on, and we're all, miserable because it might be, $300,000-$500,000 to our agency. I can't think that way. I could let it bother me for a few minutes, but then I think because of recovery, especially in my spirituality, my perspective and perception changes, and I could sit back and say, wow, how many blessings have we had with this individual over the years? I would so much rather have them in my life and know that this one might sting for a little bit, but at the end of the day, it's going to come back around. I'm showing respect. I'm showing understanding of their brand. Sometimes there's conflicts. Occasionally, we're lucky we could do what's called a bait and switch. We could find another client for another opportunity. But one way or the other, I'm okay with it because, I've had so many highs and lows in the business world. I know that if it's a slow period, if there's a deal that we really wanted one of our celebrities to say yes to. It's karma. I think I give out so much good energy. It might not be in a month, might not be in 2 months, but it could be at the oddest time of the year where all of a sudden some major lead comes in for somebody, not that client, and it goes down and it happens.
Absolutely. And that perspective of having, there's no absolutes that are going to end any of the relationships, which is kind of what I'm hearing, which I really like, because it's people can be so fragile with their relationships sometimes. Like someone might say the wrong word. Like, I like this person. And they're like, I don't like that person. So now there's friction. And you're just like, no, it's the relationship we built over the past 20 years, 30 years that keeps us bonded together.
I had that talk with Steve Simon, my VP, yesterday, who I've known since I was 10, and how I love just spreading everybody within my organization and agency around so they could develop relationships with all the clients. And he was like, look, I can't even imagine what you did when you were a one-man show or you had an assistant. And I go, you can't. I was like, the money invested, the time invested, the nurturing of the relationship, the trusts, and know that I have to make sure that I know somebody well enough that's working with me and for me before I make sure I'm comfortable to know that I can put them around, some of these iconic figures just don't trust, because even as a CEO of the agency, like, you got to be careful. You put the wrong person, says the wrong thing. It's a direct reflection of Darren Prince.
That's fascinating. See, and this is why I love the podcast, because that's not even a perspective I've even considered, where it's, hey, it took me so long to acquire this relationship that now, you're a new hire. I can't just bring you in. I got to make sure that you're in, and you're not in for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, I can't have somebody, sitting there snapping selfies and FaceTiming friends and family members. It's just protocol. I mean, there's certain clients, of course, after a certain time period that might do that. But I've got those people in my life too, friends, colleagues, business associates, all the investment friends I grew up with, and they already know. You're not coming around my people if you're going to talk about managing monies and stuff like that. It's not what I do. We're here to, build and cultivate relationships, bring them the best marketing endorsement opportunities and, partnerships with corporations. I don't get involved in that world. Nor if I bring you around for dinner or an event or a lunch, don't bring it up, because it'll be the last time I'll ever be, around me and my guys or women that we represent,
Absolutely. So for you going through life, how do you not get jaded by, like, because I could imagine it's just so stressful, because you got to maintain these relationships, but at the same time, you got to be yourself. And how do you not get, how do you stay open to all relationships? Because I mean, I'm just saying it from my perspective. I walked up to you, I said hi. I was like, I've been trying to get you on the podcast for a while. And you're like, absolutely no problem. And we started texting, and it's set up a week later. I'm like, wow, that's amazing. How do you feel so comfortable about all that? Because I feel like there's so many people.
I think I've been doing it so long, and I think recovery really helped with that a lot. I mean, my sponsor is my dear friend, Steve Delaval. I hate using that word because it's more like a big brother. He told me early on in recovery that your ego is what's going to send you back out there. And a guy like you will find dead, because you got the financial resources, you got all the to get what you really want to get. He goes, but if there's one thing you do to really ensure your recovery, keep that ego crushed. So when I wake up every morning and I pray before I go to bed every single night, I thank God that I am a freaking degenerate drug addict first and foremost. And I have a disease of more every single day of my life. And when I put that first, everything else is just a bonus. That's what I do. I mean, I took, we have this girl, Nutsa, that was on American Idol that we're working with now. She was a showstopper, is going to be a big star. And, I took her to the Laker game, and she was just blown away between Jeannie Buss, the Lakers owner, and everybody coming over to me, the VIP seating. It's regular for me. It's normal. And I don't even think it's in the sense of the respect and the love that I get from these people now. Yeah, they love what I've accomplished in the agency world, but it's more what I've done in the mental health space. And they see that I turn my pain into my purpose. Being blessed to write an international best-selling book like Aiming High, and every single day I'm speaking to people. I'm doing whatever I got to do to push this gift of recovery. that keeps me into a place of humility because, excuse my French, I'm not shit. It's my clients that have accomplished extraordinary feats. They're the Hall of Famers. They are the award winners. Charlie Sheen, greatest crossover actor we'll ever see in our lifetime. What did I do? I just happened to be a great networker and relationship builder and a decent negotiator. I got myself in the middle of it and built and cultivated the relationships. But at the end of the day, like I said, that ego's got to be kept in check. And I feel very uncomfortable now when I'm, being interviewed and somebody will give me a big lead in, or I'll be a super agent there, but I haven't done anything that's super. They're the ones that have, Well, now, if you would have asked me 20 years ago, that the thought process was different. I was the guy. I was the gatekeeper. I was the reason, all these iconic stars were relevant and making the money. And I saw where that got me. And I think there's, if you have a couple or a handful, hopefully, of some big CEOs and listeners here, you got to remember, none of us can do this all by ourselves. I've got such a great team of people around me that allow me to focus on me, because there's nothing more important than recovery. And if I can keep that spiritual vibe and keep myself on that spiritual beam, that's the most important thing, helping people that are struggling with mental health and substance abuse. For the business, that stuff's just, a byproduct of it. And I don't get jaded by any of it. I mean, my office, when David Goggins arrived, who's a client and a good friend, him and his wife, to RiseCon, in the back and gave me a big hug. And one of my boys took a picture, goes, "Look, I know you don't want to post this one, but this is a great photo." I go, "You know what? This one I'll post. I'll tell you why, because he has such good energy and Goggins in the world. I can find an angle about his good positive energy." It wasn't a thought that, my man David Goggins is giving me a hug right now, let me blow this up and really push it to get him hired. No, because I'm about energy. I want the right people around me that understand my purpose and my road to get here, that are living that same sort of life too, and pushing it out to the universe to help people.
I love that. And for you, what helped you when you were going through this mental health, drug, difficult time in your life? Because I can't imagine that was easy, and maintaining the relationships and doing it's a lot to handle. How did you get through that? What was the realization that you had an issue?
Well, it started July 1st, 2008. I've talked about it before. My late uncle and his then girlfriend Andrea were visiting my mom in New Jersey, and they paid me a surprise visit to my condo in West Orange. And Steve Simon, who I mentioned earlier, my VP, we had a plan to lock me in the Short Hills Hilton Hotel, go to the spa every day, call the doctors to not prescribe me anything, and try to detox by myself. That was literally going to happen on that Monday, 3 days later. And they came to visit me. I'd never met her before. And she just said, "Are you okay?" She goes, I have a really weird vibe that you're not okay. And I was heavier, bloated, really pale white. And I told her, for some reason, I never opened up to somebody like this before. And she said, "Do you realize you're an addict? Your life's unmanageable." And I said, "Yeah." And she goes, "Do you realize that you're powerless and you have a disease?" I said, "Yeah." And she goes, "Do you realize that all of this," and she points all over the walls at, different awards and, pictures with my clients at iconic moments, doesn't mean anything because you don't mean anything. And that broke my soul. And I started to cry. And she's like, "Do you realize that the disease of addiction doesn't care if you're from Park Avenue or Park Bench, or if you went to Yale or jail?" And I said, "Yeah." And she's like, "I can help you, or you want to do anything it takes, because this has to come first in your life before anything. I didn't even care if you lose the business." And nobody said it to me like that before. And I was like, "Yeah." And she put me on this detox plan. And it was about 36 hours later, I was in New York City. I was married at the time at the Carillon building. And I came back from the gym. I was detoxing, sweating, vomiting, all the horrific feelings that come along and the side effects of detoxing from opiates. And I called them up. I started yelling, "I can't do this. I'm calling the goddamn doctor." My uncle grabbed the phone and said, "This is the damn disease talking. It's this childish, immature bullshit behavior that you've had for 20-something years. Right now, it's time you get your ass to a damn 12-step meeting and tell these people that you're sick and you're suffering and you need help. and put that ego aside. And I hung up the phone. I said, I can't freaking do it. I've been to those stupid meetings, and ran into the bathroom. My then wife thought I was going to overdose because there was 2 overdoses 6 months prior that she experienced, one in Las Vegas and one in Florida with me. And she's banging on the door, don't do it, baby, don't do it. And I'm going through the medicine cabinets to find any non-narcotic anxiety pills that Andre told me I can take. And 2 extra scent Vicodins came out of one of the bottles. And we swore that we cleaned out every medicine bottle. We did it the day earlier, but for some reason there was one of the 3 opiates I was addicted to. And, for a split second, it seemed like it was the gift. This is exactly what I need. Thank God I got the relief. And I had that moment of clarity. I had that gift of desperation because I fell to my knees and was shaking, screamed out to God, take the money, the notoriety, the business. I need a single day of freedom if you take me out of hell. I remember my exact words. I will spend one day at a time the rest of my life taking others out with me. And I had a white light moment. I never had one before. I never had one since. And it was like this burning feeling over my right shoulder. And I heard a voice tell me that I've got you and you're ready. And I stood up, and to this day, I say it wasn't me. My hand open, flushed the pills. There was no Uber back then. I jumped on the computer. I found a 12-step meeting in a church basement in the upper 80s, flagged a taxi cab on this gorgeous night of July 2nd, 2008, about 7:30 at night in Manhattan, and said to myself, oh my God, for the first time in my life, I wanted to stay sober more than I wanted to get high. And, magic happened when I walked into that church basement, because there was about 150 to 200 addicts and alcoholics who were all once in a hopeless state of mind, just like I was. And the leader said, is anybody new coming back or needing help? And his hand went right up. It wasn't about the super agent bullshit anymore. This was life and death. And I came clean. I said, I'm sick. I'm suffering. I have an amazing life outside these rooms. I need your guys' help. And about a dozen spiritual brothers and sisters I never met before came over to me and said, stick with the winners. Keep showing up. Don't worry about if you don't get the fellowship, because if you keep showing up, the fellowship is going to get you. And then they told me something that changed my life forever. And they said, we will love you before you ever learn how to love yourself. And that room, that meeting became my new addiction. I heard things that night that I can identify, not compare, that, oh my God, that's me. Wow, I do that too. Oh my God, listen to how great this person sounded. And they used to do the exact same thing I did. And it gave me hope. For the first time in my life, it actually gave me hope. And I just became obsessed with going to my meetings every single day. And slowly but surely, a month became 2 months, and then 6 months. And eventually I got to a year, and I started doing the step work. And my sponsor said, you got the gift right now. You feel really good. I said, yup. He goes, you want to keep it? I said, yup. He goes, well, then it's time to give it away. You don't give this gift away. You got 0 shot at keeping the gift of recovery. And that's when I realized what it was all about.
Wow. That's profound. That's incredible. Because Darren, for you to have the humility to even share that and keep that and promote that and push that and really find it in yourself that it is best to give, that's amazing. That's amazing.
It took a lot of work to get here. So I'm so, open, raw, and honest about it, and vulnerable, because I know there's a lot of people out there that are in the same boat. And even if you didn't have the success that I had, you might not be getting to that success because you're numbing and you're dealing with your unhealed traumas and unresolved issues. And we don't get addicted to, the substances or the alcohol. We get addicted to the escape. We don't like who we are. We forget loving who we are. We don't like who we are. If you're doing something every single day that isn't good for you, there's underlining issues, period.
And I think that's so important to bring up, Darren, because there's so many of us that just sit there and think, okay, it's fine. I'll have 3 drinks tonight. Not a big deal. Not a big deal. I'll do it every night. And people have no idea that there is people have situations, things come up, because like you were talking about, prior to that moment, you didn't have the community around you that was also doing this. So you felt like an outlier. You felt like you're by yourself.
100%.
And then
I mean, the
You're
people,
like,
I was with a good girlfriend of mine a couple nights ago for dinner, and she's successful and she likes, smoking, weed, before she goes to bed or whatever. And, I just did the same thing to her. It's like a daily sort of thing. And I go, you're covering up for something. Because I get it. People like to sleep, they like to relax, but there's just some level of uncomfortability in your soul and in your core when you have to do that. And I can speak because I know more about it than anybody. How come I can come up on 15 freaking years sober? And this kid couldn't go an hour at a time without weed, pills, cocaine, ecstasy. From the time I was a teenager, I eventually changed into opiates. How come I can do it? Because I'm accountable. I do the work. I understand where those character defects are coming from. How come I know people at 30, 40, 45 years sober, and we're whole. We dug into the deepest part of our souls to realize, okay, maybe this happened with our mom or our dad, or this relationship or this friendship or that business partnership, or this trauma happened that shifted something in my thought process, which is why this is the direct result of the way that I behave. A lot of people don't want to look into it. Most of the world doesn't. They want to just stay in that space. But when you can get real, true, self-love from the inside, it's the greatest thing in the world. I have zero insecurities. Anybody in my life will tell you that. Zero. Outside of the fear of potentially relapsing. Because I don't fear relapsing and dying. I fear relapsing and living. Relapsing and dying will be easy for me because my system, if I go bad, won't be able to handle stuff that, I used to do. But I think to get that healing, to get to that place of, and again, moderation, I'm saying is more okay. But I think if it's something that's a daily, multiple times a day, and I know so many people in my life that do, I don't judge anybody. Sometimes doctors prescribe things. I get it. But I think once you get to that place of why you become so dependent and it becomes such a part of your routine, there's just adverse effects after a while. A couple months or something, I get it. But when you look back and say, I've been doing the same thing for 20, 30 years, and I have so many people in my life, I don't say anything else, because somebody asks and say, hey, what did you do? What do you suggest? I'm the first one to try to tell them what to do. Now, if there's not unmanageability in your life, again, I'm not a judgmental person, then so be it. I mean, if it's something that just chills you out and relaxes you and there isn't a deeper root issue on why you're doing what you're doing, I'm all for that, 100%. I mean, people have a glass of wine or two every single night. God bless you. You can do it. I can't. I can't smoke weed or have a couple drinks or take one pill once a day. My brain's not wired that way. But I think if somebody can really take a good hard look at themselves in the mirror and, say, all right, I'm starting to understand that, that there's something much deeper than just, this is my moment once or twice a day to chill. Let me kind of sit down and break down, what's gone on in my life and assess it. That's up for that person to decide.
Absolutely. I mean, as you're speaking, you kind of get me thinking about a lot of different things because there's also people who don't feel comfortable going outside. There's so many addictions and comforts and habits that we develop that we don't even realize are habits. We just think,
your habits, it becomes part of you. It just becomes part of your. And some people wake up in the morning. I used to do the wake and bake as a teen and smoke weed and justify to my dad, this is why all my ads are so creative for the baseball card business. My wild ideas. And Walt Disney created Disney World on acid, Dad. Look it up. And I would justify everything. And he would always tell me, that's not what it is. He goes, the problem is you don't look at yourself and appreciate who you are. He goes, you have very low self-worth and low self-esteem. And I never understood that. I go, Dad, what are you talking about? I love myself. I love my life. He goes, someday you're going to wake up and realize that you're doing these things because you have very low self-esteem. And it took me till I was 30 years old to realize that everything he said was right.
Wow. And the craziest thing is that we all have an interesting relationship with our parents where they might say something that might be right, but in that moment we're just like, stop that. I'm not listening to that. And
we're not going to listen to them anyway at that age.
Exactly. And it took you like someone who you haven't met before to be stern with you, which is super brave of her, because that's not usually how people meet. They're not usually super straightforward with people. So for her to
And I
share
saw
that,
her, Andrea, big adore. I'll give her a shout out. I saw her post today on Facebook. She just celebrated 20 years sober yesterday. And I
incredible.
remember the other part of that story. She pulled out a 5-year sober coin and said to me, I just celebrated 5 years sober. I can help you. And the crazy thing is, I have that coin in my house.
Wow.
When I celebrated 1 year, she sent me the most amazing card that I was like, I gotta like frame this, save it, because it was so emotional. We cried tears of joy, where she just said something that I'm a miracle. And do I believe it? You know, what do I think of God now? And use this gift and spread it around the world, because you were a chosen one to get recovered.
Yeah, I love that. And it's so important that anyone can make a change at any moment. Like, you were 30 years old.
38.
And yeah, and you decided to make that 38, and you decided to make that change. Most people don't change. Like,
No,
you had a successful I guarantee you there was a lot of people who go, oh, Darren's like, no, he's successul. Like, I wouldn't back talk.
that's the biggest problem when you're a high bottom, that most people look at the money and the success and your surroundings. Like, not having a problem, is going through a bad time. But my ex-wife would see, my eyes rolling behind my head at dinner, and sometimes falling asleep in a plate of pasta at an Italian restaurant, because I had what's known as the nodge from too many opiates that I was snorting that day or taking. So she saw the darkness of it. She would see me, crawling out of bed in the morning, just thinking about one thing. And the times that she would beg me not to take something before dinner, so I wasn't all loopy and falling asleep. And literally, I'd go to a dinner for 2 hours, and she was ecstatic that I made it without taking anything. And the minute we would get back home or to the apartment, first thing I'd do was go pick up what I really wanted to pick up.
Oh, wow. That's incredible. And I love the fact that it can change at any given moment. I think that's the most amazing thing, and the biggest token that anyone listening can take is that your life can change in any moment. In any
Good
moment.
or bad.
Yeah, exactly.
Good or bad. I mean, look, I like you said earlier, like, I have to do every single day recovery, because what I did yesterday doesn't help me today. And I know that I'm up for grabs. I mean, I'm in those danger years 10 to 15. There's more chronic relapsers than any, because we die of a bad memory, and we forget what the fellowship gave us, keeping us from coming to the fellowship. And you disconnect, and your life becomes so rich and so full with gratitude that it's sometimes more common than you think that people forget what gave them that life. I'm never going to forget. I mean, when life is bad, I'll make sure I'm at meetings and connecting with people in recovery. And when life is good, I run to meetings and people in recovery, because it allows me to build that foundation, for success, for real, true internal spiritual success, peace and love. And when I'm days that I'm overwhelmed and I need to get out of my own head, I'll be of service to other people. That's the most important thing in my life. I didn't build self-confidence and self-esteem because of Muhammad Ali and Smoking Joe and Magic and Hulk. God bless them. They've changed and impacted my life in so many ways. That came from helping people. That came from, being a service. And 3 weeks ago, I got a DM on Instagram from a gentleman that needed help in Texas, and he had no insurance. And 48 hours later, my Aiming High Foundation, I was able to scholarship and put him on an airplane and get him in treatment. And I'm getting voicemail messages on Instagram from him crying with his kids in the background saying, "Thank you so much for saving our daddy."
Oh my God.
It's,
yeah.
I cried for the first 20 minutes. It shifts into a place of nothing but gratitude, because that it's just it's a feeling that it just never gets old, because I'm not just helping him, I'm helping his parents, I'm helping his kids, everybody in his life, and also doing what I told God I was going to do, taking people out of hell, taking people out of their own mental prisons, which is exactly where I was, because I didn't want to live the last years of my life. I would pray that I didn't wake up. I had my life insurance set up. I had my estate set up for my wife and my family. And I remember how bad it was. My worst fear was waking up every morning those last 2 years at 7, 8 in the morning and just having to deal with the thoughts in my head.
Wow. I that is a great reminder for everyone that you have to earn it every single day. You have to do the right thing every single day. And the things that got you there will continue to get you there, because you got to earn it every single day. That's why people say work out every single day. They go take rest days, do this. And I'm just like, okay, if you're going to rest day, go on a walk, do something, get the body moving. It's not good to like have real off days. And like what you're saying around philanthropy is so incredible. And it doesn't always have to be this huge gesture. And it's not saying like it's amazing what you did. I'm just saying for anyone in the audience, like I got a message today from the football foundation where I played high school football, and they're trying to raise some money. So I donated a little bit of money, but it's helping along the way, because we don't realize how much abundance we have. We have so much abundance, and we take that for granted. And we always think, oh, he's just trying to take advantage of it. Like, I love the fact that you're like, absolutely not. Like, you need help. Like, you really need help. Like, let's set this up. Let's make this happen.
I spoke to Magic after RiseCon. Magic and I spoke on that Saturday for a half hour. He stayed overnight at the Marriott where we were both at, and called me up just to recap. And 28 minutes was about life. And, he just sees everything manifesting and the blessings in my life. And he's like, boy, he goes, look, because you give so much, just like I do. We don't give because we expect back. We give because it's the right thing to do. But that God can't help but to bless us back so we can continue those blessings to others. Because when you give with expectations of, I'm going to do this because it's good energy, it's good karma, that don't work. You got to do and not keep score. You have to do and not write it down. You have to just get into that place of always getting out of yourself to help other people. And it just comes back to you somehow, some way. I mean, I say when I speak pretty often that, recovery and sobriety is a gift. And I feel like every day I want to go to the front of the customer service line and return it to somebody, because there's so many people out there that are sick and suffering. It's crazy.
Yeah, I love your mission. I love what you're sharing. And Darren, this is one of the reasons I wanted you on, is because you're doing your best in each of these different areas of life. And most of us just get focused in one area. You're focusing like 5 different areas. It's incredible. What do you think are some of the skills and the values you need to hold? Obviously, you mentioned a couple of them: gratitude, accountability, that you need to carry to really be a very fulfilled and purposeful human on this earth.
I mean, I just think for me, I'll do gratitude lists pretty often. I'll text myself things that have happened throughout the day. I'll do a recap at the end of the week. Nobody knows about it. It's always private messaging, and I'll look it over, and then I'll make lists of things that I need to work on. I think structure is super important. And as I said before, you got to get into a routine. And I think every day you have to do something nice for somebody. I just think that's part of that whole spirituality that you talked about. And it just happens. Things that you try to overthink, success that you want. I just think if you stay into those kind of 3 or 4 things, especially like what you said, it just happens. The right people will come in your life, and the right people will be moved out of your life.
Absolutely. Darren, you're incredible. I appreciate the time. Where can people find more about you and see the journey you're going on? And where's the best?
At agent_DP on Instagram. My Facebook is Darren Prince. I've got my aiminghighfoundation.org website for anybody. willing to make any contributions. I don't care if it's $10, $20. We donate 100% of the proceeds to scholarship people. And then last, which, it's not my purpose of being on here, is princemarketinggroup.com is the agency website. And then if anybody's interested in copies of Aiming High, I always say this. I know it's tough out there for people. If you can't afford to buy it on Amazon or Barnes & Noble's, DM me on Instagram with your name and address, and we'll send out free copies.
Amazing. Darren, thank you. This has been incredible.
Thanks, man.
Thank you for reaching the end of the podcast. For that, we'll give you a complimentary coaching session in the link below with Edwards Consulting. Hope to see you there, and have a great day and keep clocking in.